Uh, we're on? All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 92 of the Koi Market Koi live marketplace. Thank you for joining us. I'm sure no one's on yet, but good morning to everyone. It's a very, very, very rainy. It was raining yesterday, too. It rained all day yesterday, and it's raining, looks like all day today. Hoping you guys are going to join us. I know it's the end of the season. At least for us, it's the end of the season. If you live in a warmer climate, it's not the end of the season. But it's the end of the season for us. So things have died down quite a bit. We still have a lot of contractors that are building. So we still get a lot of traffic from contractors coming in. But hello, everyone. Who do we have on?
Doug Ashton, Michael Adrian.
Hi, Doug. Hey, Mike.
Ryan, you.
How many people?
9.
Yeah, 9 people on. Good morning to everyone. It's been a little bit of a crazy time. You know, Mike and Gabe have been handling things while I've been away. I apologize. I've had some things going on in my life that I'm sure you guys discussed it's to some extent or no. My father passed away last week. My father, struggled with bladder cancer for 2 years, and it eventually got the best of him. And it was a really tough time. I don't know if we. Death is not something I've been around a lot. I guess we've been very fortunate in my family, and it hasn't been a huge part of. It hasn't been something that I've seen a lot of. So I guess I've been fortunate in that. And my father passed away. My father, if you don't know, my father was quite the legend. His name is Joel Rosen. Owner of Motion Performance. He was the legend in the American muscle car industry in the 60s and 70s. And, it was really hard. He was in hospice, and I don't want to go into a whole thing about this, but it was a really tough time. And just leading up to his death, he was in hospice care for about a week or so, and as you guys know, once you're going into hospice care, then it's the end is not too far away. I'm going to talk about this now because I want to talk about it, and I feel like I need to talk about it just because it's on my mind, and I haven't been sleeping a lot, and I'll make this quick, but we got to see my father last week. And do I know if he knew that we were there? I don't know. He had one eye open, staring at the ceiling, and his mouth was wide open, and he didn't respond to anything, any kind of conversation while we were there. So it was very upsetting seeing him. I did get to spent some time with him by myself, and my father and I did not have a great relationship growing up. We just didn't see eye to eye on things, and so I'm sure many of you have had similar scenarios where you just didn't see eye to eye with your parents. So my father and I were definitely that type of situation. So I spent some time telling my father that my thoughts and things that were on my mind and things that I needed to talk to him about, because we never got to talk about them. And I did it obviously in a way that I wanted him to know that I loved him, but I was very upset with our relationship, and I was sorry that it was going to end this way. And we left, and I got a call 10 minutes later that he had passed away. So it was, I'd like to think that, maybe he was at peace with the conversation that we had. you know, that's really it. You know, it was a tough time. I'm actually going back to Florida now. My mother is going to be moving back to New York, so I am excited about that. She actually didn't. They're in Florida. They didn't. My mother didn't want to move to Florida, but my father had this dream of living in Florida, and my mother's a family person, so taking her away from family was very tough for her. So she is excited to come back to New York, and we'll bring her in on the show every once in a while. She's definitely going to be spending some time here at the store. So how many people we have on? Good morning, everyone. As I was saying, Michael and Gabe have been handling the show, and guys, good morning. Thank you for handling while I was away, and having Michael and Gabe here has been it's a huge part of what makes Koi Market, and they do a lot of things here, and so I'm thankful for you guys. I love you guys. So good morning to everyone. How are your weeks going? What's going on in your lives? What are you watching on TV? What's new with you? My wife and I have spent a lot of time watching shows lately. We're trying to find a show. What are you guys watching these days? Do you have anything cool that I should be watching? I'm more of a sci-fi guy. My wife has been watching Nashville. I guess when things are streaming, you have access to all these things that you never got to watch. And we're not really country fans. I mean, I guess I could be a country fan. I mean, I don't know. I never was before, but she finished watching Nashville. I didn't watch the last season; was kind of horrible. I'm excited. Bosch Legacy started yesterday. I think the new season of Bosch. I was a big fan of Bosch, the first one, and then when I found out that Legacy was coming out, I was pretty excited because he's pretty cool. Yeah. Did you like where it's going?
So far, I've only finished the first episode.
Did it feel like it hadn't? So it picked up right. Okay, cool. Do you guys like watching Bosch? That's a pretty good show. I was a big Suits fan. I might even watch the Suits season, the entire thing again. It's such a great show. You guys haven't watched? You don't like it?
It's just so long.
There's a lot of seasons.
And a lot of episodes. And it's very long.
It started getting a little, and then it picked up again. It's a great show. If you haven't watched Suits, you guys watch Suits? Let me know.
We have Spring. Spring says.
Hey, Spring.
Covert Affairs, Bosch, and Lincoln Lawyer.
So I've watched Lincoln Lawyer. I like the original movie, and I watched the Lincoln Lawyer show. I think that's pretty good. If you guys are looking for a show like that one's definitely a good one. Covert Affairs, I don't know about. I'll have to check that out. We're looking for some stuff. I do like sci-fi, so I'm interested in anything that's sci-fi.
Black Mirror.
What?
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror is a good one. Some of the earlier ones I remember were amazing. I'm not caught up on Black Mirror,
Me neither.
but it is a really good show. So Netflix, that whole change to Netflix. We shared it with my son Travis and my daughter Bailey and whoever else was on our account, and now Travis has the account, so we don't get Netflix anymore because he's like the primary on the accounts. We gave it to him, so anything that's been on Netflix I haven't watched. That's a Netflix show, right? Yeah. So Netflix we have to get back on. Mike, so we have we have Michael Simos, who you guys know. We also have Mike Verone here. Mike Verone runs our wholesale division, and he said that he's got a way for us to get a whole bunch of channels. He did it, and it worked. Okay, so Michael has confirmed that Mike's got a way for us to get a lot more channels on the Amazon Fire Stick. So we have to check that out. He said he's going to set it up for us. We have it set up here, right? We have it set up at the store, and I guess I have to bring the Fire Stick in so he does something to it. Is this something that can get out of date?
You can do it at home.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have a couple of comments.
So what are you guys watching, guys? Let me hear from you.
So Jeremy says
Hi,
he
Jeremy.
raises exotic pheasants and been getting new ones. So that's his hobby that he's taken up.
Exotic pheasants.
Pheasants.
Well, that's very interesting.
Spring says Lincoln Lawyer is a book series and they are fantastic.
Yeah.
Brian Malone says he loves Suits.
Morning,
he
Brian.
saw it twice.
So it's funny you said you watched Suits twice because, there's not too many shows that you can rewatch again and actually be interested in rewatching it again. The premise for Suits was such a great premise. Listen, I'm not telling anyone like what's happening in the series, but I almost feel like when they moved away from the original premise, like once the cat was out of the bag, I feel like things changed a little bit. And I won't say any more than that if you want to watch the show. I don't want to ruin anything for you because it's one of those shows, kind of like watching Friends or King of Queens. Like you can watch that show was 20 years ago already, but you can still watch it now and it's still absolutely hilarious. The characters, the subject matter, everything it's still relevant and still funny. Suits is one of those shows that I feel like you can watch again and be totally fine watching and probably see things that you didn't realize the first time around. So definitely a good one. Going back to Jeremy with the pheasants, that's very interesting. I wish there was a way that you could send pictures, like that we could. Yeah, send Michael pictures. Text Michael and we can take a look at them. That's such an interesting hobby. So hobbies, that's really interesting. So, I kind of feel like on this show, and Michael and Gabe and I were talking about this, is getting to know you guys a little bit more, and so tell us more about your hobbies. Like, what are you guys interested in? Yes. I'd love to know what else you guys are interested in. Let's make this just it's just one of those days where I just think I just want to talk to you guys, and I just want to. And we'll talk about more pond stuff. I don't think we're going to do fish today, but we'll have some conversations about what's happening here. But we'll do that afterwards. We'd love to know what you guys are interested in, what other hobbies, but you have some comments, so let me hear.
All right, so Michael Adrian says he loves Love, Death, and Robots.
I like that show. That's a really good one, too. You know what? The interesting thing about that show is that they're little snippets. Have you watched that show? So, what is it called? Is it called Love, Death, and Robots, or?
I don't know if it's Love, Death, and Robots or just Death and Robots.
I think it's Love, Death, and Robots, something like that. Yeah. But also a Netflix show, really, really good. They're basically little short stories. My biggest issue with that show is like some of the short stories I want to be longer. I want to see more of some of these things. Like you just want to. There are some that are so good that you just want to see more. You want to find out more about where the whole storyline is going, and not just like a little short piece of it.
All right, so Jeremy sent me the photos, and I'm going to just continue on with some of the comments
cool.
So I can get caught up. Kathy Karate says, "Have you guys watched Silo?" Which
hi Kathy. Oh my God. So Kathy mentioned Silo. So while I was watching Silo, and Michael and I share, I think, the same passion for sci-fi stuff, and so the whole time I was watching Silo, I kept telling Michael, "You got to watch this show." And Michael definitely doesn't watch as much as I do, but he's like, "Yeah, I'll watch it." And that was like probably like 4 or 5, maybe 6 months ago. I was talking about that show, and he finally watched it. And did you watch the whole thing? And what'd you think?
Very good. It's
talking to the.
I'm waiting for season 2, just like you said. Like I need to know where it goes.
It was so when it comes to sci-fi, there's been so many sci-fi shows, so many things have been done. This one was really cool because it was a great premise, and if you like sci-fi, this show, they jumped right in. Like things were happening right away. A lot of these shows, like they all right, here's the premise, and they stretch it out, and they'll have like a lot of filler episodes where it's like, this is so boring. you watch a whole episode just to find out one little thing. But this show got really quickly. They went into everything very quickly, and you just wanted more. It's almost like did you watch Lost? All right, so if you watched Lost was one of those amazing shows that kind of jumped the shark, but it was an amazing show. I love that show, and there were some premises in Lost where you sat the entire week waiting for the next episode. Like, you couldn't even think about work. You were like, what's happening? Like, what is going to happen? And that's what it's like with Silo. You're definitely wondering, like, what the hell is this thing? Like, why are they there? How long have they been there? It's very interesting. That other show was a little bit like that, but Westworld, like, it had potential, and it just
died off.
It was, you wanted it to be good, and you kept watching it because you were hoping that it was going to get better, and I actually was one of those fools that watched the entire thing. It sucked, but it had potential.
Jeremy says he started watching Gen V.
Yes, so I was actually going to bring up Gen V, and Gen V is a spin-off from The Boys. Now, I will be the warning disclaimer for those of you that, The Boys and Gen V are unlike anything you've ever seen when it comes to what's I don't know what's acceptable. I don't want to say what's acceptable. You'll never see the type of adult, I'm going to call it adult content, violence that are on those two shows. Like, they definitely tap into things that I never ever thought that I would ever see, but it's so entertaining. So if you like, there was a. Do you remember back in the day when Superman? Remember Superman movies with Christopher Reeve, and there was maybe like Superman 3 or 4, and they had it was a bad Superman. Like, what happens when Superman goes bad, and he was it was affecting Superman in a bad way, and he turned into bad Superman, and that, I think, has always stuck in writers' heads as, like, what would happen if you had superheroes that were bad? And there was actually another movie that came out. It was just like Superman. Like, if you guys remember the name of it, came out a couple of years ago. But he was bad. It was a kid, and he messed up everything. He killed everyone. But there's I'm not saying I'm a fan of people killing people. It's just, it was...
It's a good premise.
It was a great premise, and The Boys and Gen V are like that. I mean, there is no subject that is taboo on this show. I mean, they tackle everything, but they do it in a way that's very entertaining. So if you like sci-fi, if you want to see what would happen if superheroes went bad, then The Boys and Gen V are great shows to watch. I love The Boys. It's probably one of the best shows I've ever seen. There is another show kind of like that on HBO Max. Oh, God, I can't remember the name of it.
Is that the one with John Cena?
With the one with John Cena. Did you watch that?
No, you told me about it.
It's also really good. It's funny. But it's also pretty violent. You guys know what the name of that show is with John Cena? It's very good. It's called Peacemaker, I think. That one's really good too. And I'm sorry we're spending so much time on TV shows, but quite honestly, I've been taking a little bit of a break lately, so it's given me some time to just kind of sit down, relax, and are you guys okay with me talking about this stuff? I spent a lot of time on there. So what else are you guys watching? Any movies you want? Oh, I saw a couple of movies that I loved. What was that movie that we just went to see?
The Creator.
What was it? The Creator. Wow, that movie was amazing. If you guys are looking for a good sci-fi, The Creator was amazing. Did anyone of you guys see The Creator? That was awesome.
Want to see Jeremy's Pheasants?
I do want to see Jeremy's Pheasants.
Just swipe that way. It's 5.
So I'm looking at Jeremy's Pheasants right now. I hope you're okay with me showing These are gorgeous. Jeremy, how did you get into pheasants? That's such an interesting hobby.
You see the yellow one?
I saw two of them. Oh, I didn't see that one.
Just then exit out of it.
I don't know if you can see them there. Very cool.
Look at the yellow one.
So that brings up an interesting conversation. Oh, wow. That one's cool, too. So do you guys have any interesting animals? So I grew up, if you guys saw my posts in the last week, I've been talking about my dad, because, it helps me to talk about things. Like I said, I had a pretty tough childhood, and I don't need to get into a whole thing, but yeah, it was a tough childhood. But we did grow up with a lot of animals in the house. If you saw one of the things I posted, we had a mountain lion in my basement. I had this gorgeous den downstairs, and we had a mountain lion, and we had 5 Newfoundlands and 5 cats, and we had monkeys, and we had kinkajous. My mother still has one of the kinkajous. It's a South American raccoon. My dad was also one of the largest breeders of rare boas and pythons in the country. So he had that as his hobby, and my basement had, I don't know, like 800 snakes in the basement. We had a basement. It was the size of the house, and so we had these 55-gallon tanks that were flipped to their side with sliding doors, and floor to ceiling throughout my basement were tanks filled with snakes. And I had ferrets and guinea pigs and rabbits, and it was there. I'm not kidding when I say we had thousands of animals in the house at one time, and we had, when I was really young, we had someone that came and cleaned the animals every day. They came to the house and cleaned animals every day until my sister and I were old enough. Then we started doing it. It was not fun. It's interesting that I'm in my business is in animals, because I actually swore at one point in my life, I think I was when in high school, I left school early. I left school in 11th grade, and my father and I couldn't live together. I couldn't live in the same house with him, and so I left in 11th grade, and I moved out, and I got my GED, and I started my life pretty early, and learned a lot of things. I learned very quickly that I couldn't be a kid anymore, and I needed to be an adult, and I needed to do adult things. I had to learn a skill set, and I had to learn how to budget my money, at a very young age. I mean, I'm thankful that things went the way they did. I wouldn't be the person that I am if I didn't go through all the things that I went through. So that's the way I have to look at it. I swore that I would never be like my dad, and I'm not trying to, slam my dad. I just, like I said, my dad and I had a very rough relationship, and it was my goal in life was to not be like him, and was to. I am happy the way things went the way they did, because, like I said, I wouldn't be the person that I am today if I didn't go through all those things. All right, enough about that. Some comments.
We have some other people who commented their hobbies.
Yes.
Michelle Baldwin said,
"Hi, Michelle.
Quilting and stained
What
glass."
is it?
Quilting.
Quilting and stained glass. Yeah. Can you send us pictures? I want to see stuff. I love stained glass. I was home. So my daughter got into crocheting. It's different than quilting, though. Quilting is making a blanket quilts. Would love to see that stuff. Please send pictures. Please. Yes.
David Podor says he does ballroom dancing. His wife competes.
No way. So hi David. Good morning. So David and his wife compete in ballroom dancing. So we have an Arthur Murray right by our house. I believe Arthur Murray is alive anymore, but Arthur Murray is a very famous ballroom dancer. And my wife and I talked about doing it. I can't imagine me doing it. I definitely have 2 left feet. I've never been from the dancers, but she's asked me many times to do it, and I'm eventually going to have to give in and do it, because you know what? It's all about, if death teaches you one thing, well, I'm going to say two things, but I think the first thing is life is short, and you need to take advantage of every minute that you have. I think that's really important. And the other thing that it teaches you is the most important thing is family. Family is everything. They're the ones that are going to be there for you. They're the ones that are going to pick you up when you fall down, and family is everything. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Elizabeth Thompson says that they train. Her and Patrick train bite sports, IGP with dogs, and they ride and show horses.
Did you say bite, B-I-T-E, or bite? Bite sports?
Yeah, I'm assuming I'm going to assume it's like you throw a frisbee and the dog has to go bite on it.
First of all, good morning, Elizabeth. Can you please tell us more about this? I'm very interested in this. I've never actually heard that term before. Bite sports. I think this is fascinating, and I love to learn about these things. It's very, very interesting.
Alan says that he watches Koi Market regularly.
Good morning, Alan. I think that's the best hobby of all the hobbies is watching Koi Market doing this every Saturday. I love that you do that. We love doing this. I mean, this is, I would love to figure out a way so that we can interact even more with you guys. We've built everything up through our Facebook personal page, and I know that there's a way if we moved this account, the live show, to the Facebook business page, there are actually a bunch more things that we can do. It's something that we've been talking about doing. If you guys were okay to go to the business page, I mean, we just have all of our friends are on the Show on Coin Market Rosen personal page. We would have to figure out how to get everyone over to the other page. And if we can do that, we would have to rebuild up the show again. But everyone would have to like and be a part of the business page in order for us to move over there. But if we did, we could actually do a bunch more stuff where we were interactive, and we could even bring in live guests from other locations during the show, which would be an interview people from other areas, which would be pretty cool. But we can't do it from this personal page, so it's something that we're thinking about changing around. Go ahead.
So, Adina Hood says
Hi, Adina.
she's showing her dog is her hobby. She competes in conformation and performance with her Great Pyrenees.
I love that. Great Pyrenees is a big dog.
Carl Form says Pink Floyd movie.
So Carl and I grew up together. Good morning, Carl. So Carl and I grew up together. Did you say Pink Floyd? What was it?
Pink Floyd movie, all day, every day.
Carl, I would expect nothing less than that. What's up? Please say hi to everyone for me.
Alan says Midsummer Murders. I don't know if that's a show or a movie.
I want to know what that is. Please tell me. That sounds very interesting.
Elizabeth Thompson says ball pythons, geckos, turtles, goats, cats, dogs, horses. I guess she's
wow.
done it all.
Very cool. I love all those things. Well, I got to be honest. Like growing up with snakes, I swore whatever I did the rest of my life, I would never, ever, ever have snakes again, because that was a tough part of my childhood. And, I think that there's having a hobby and then there's taking a hobby to the extreme. My dad was what is the term? He was a obsessive compulsive, and when he would get into something, like, so he was the car guy. I mean, he's a legend in the car business, and there was nobody better. Everything that my dad did, he took to the extreme. So when it came to animals, it wasn't just having a pet, it was having all of them. And not only all of them, just the best ones out there. And he always strived to be the best at everything that he did. He was a tennis player, so he played tennis, but he didn't play tennis like everyone else. He played tennis every single day of my entire life. There wasn't a day my father didn't play tennis. I didn't see my father ever. Only when he was telling me to clean the animals. But he played tennis every single day of my entire life. So he was a professional tennis player. And then he got into the animals. Then he got into model ships and planes and stuff, and he did that for a while. And he built planes and ships for presidents and John Travolta, and he built a plane for John Travolta, and he built. Well, and when I say he built, so he had a business where he was building museum quality plane and ship models, and he, like I said, he took it to the extreme. He built multiple aircraft carriers for various presidents. He met with the presidents, and so he didn't just do something when he did it. Like, he took it to the extreme. Anyway, more comments.
So Elizabeth Thompson elaborated on the bite sports. She says it's a three-phase sport with tracking human scent, advanced obedience, and protection. The dogs bite another example is the dogs bite a sleeve on a person's arm. You know, like that kind of competition.
Right. So we're talking about, so it's for guard dog type of.
Yeah, I would guess so.
So these would be guard dogs and competitive, but it's competitive. That's so interesting. I see a lot of this getting posted online. That's very, very interesting. Go ahead.
Michael Adrian says he's a vintage concert poster collector, especially the Grateful Dead. Kathy Karate says that her friend unfortunately lost some of her fish this summer, so she's planning a trip to come see us in the spring. Oh,
thank you, Kathy. Yeah, she's welcome anytime. Let's go back to Michael Adrian. So Michael, as you know, Michael lives local, and he's a very good friend of ours. And Michael, we haven't seen you in a little while, so please come by. So Michael's hobby is the Grateful Dead, and it's what's interesting is my wife and my son Zach are also huge Grateful Dead fans. If you've met or seen my son Zach, you'll know that he loves the Grateful Dead. And my wife, I think, traveled around the country going to Grateful Dead shows for the longest time. So she grew up. She's told me many stories about when she was a kid. I mean, things were different back then, where they would just tell mom and dad that they were going somewhere, and then they would go and hitchhike to Grateful Dead shows. Oh my God! Like, talk about crazy. You would never do something like that in this day and age. But back then, I guess it was a bit more common. So my family also are some huge Grateful Dead fans. But very cool hobby. Yes.
Alan followed up with the Midsummer Murderers. He says it's a TV show on public television. Okay. Midsummer Murders TV show. Is anyone else watching this show? It sounds really interesting. And then Chris Hayes said, is it true you guys sell some amazing bonsai as well as koi? He said some other stuff off camera, but I'm not going to say that. So Chris Hayes, you guys know Chris very well. Chris, if you know Chris is he's very, very, very funny. So hanging around with Chris is like having a comedian around all the time. So Chris is definitely our comic relief. But Chris also runs the bonsai company. So LI Bonsai Supply, and bonsai is an awesome hobby. And you know, our entire business is built around hobbies. So whether it be koi, whether it be filtration, filtration is definitely is a hobby. You know, it's not just like, all right, I have a filter for my ponds. There is
I have an obsession with fittings, with PVC fittings. I don't know if you guys. I think Michael is nodding his head. Yep, I collect strange fittings. It's a hobby I might be in by myself, so it's a lonely hobby, but I definitely try and I always have really interesting fittings for my plumbing. But I'm definitely a bit obsessed with doing very clean layouts for plumbing, and it's my hobby. But bonsai is also an amazing hobby. It looks like the sun is trying to come through. That's cool. Bonsai is part of our business as well. Good morning, Chris. I tried calling you this morning.
Spring says Chris always says the best hellos on the live. And
yes, he does.
Chris followed up, do you like gladiator movies?
So Michael and Gabe don't get that, but if you all right, who knows where that's from? I will just ask that question instead of me just saying it. Do you like gladiator movies? Someone's going to answer. Michael Adrian's going to answer that.
So while somebody answers, I have one more comment.
Yeah.
Brian Malone says it looks like you have some kind of gutter downspout behind you up by the roof. Something like that.
So that is actually just hiding the electrical, the hookups for the air conditioner. It was a way to just cleverly hide the plumbing setup for that. Yes.
Ryan Thomas says, I also suffer from the same plumbing fitting affliction.
Good morning, Ryan. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's funny, like I'll always, instead of going and looking at my inventory, I'll just always order more plumbing parts. And then I'll be surprised when I find out that we already had it in stock. I definitely have a weird obsession with plumbing fittings. Yeah.
Nobody got the gladiator thing.
What?
I don't see any comments on it.
No one? Do you like gladiator movies? All right, well, that's from the movie Airplane. So if you guys have seen the movie Airplane, which I'm sure you guys haven't, because Michael and Gabe were born a couple of weeks ago. Airplane, and so many of my references in my everyday life come back to the movie Airplane.
Chris has a follow-up comment.
Good.
You ever hang around the locker room after a game?
So there were a couple that I was going to mention, but I figured it wasn't appropriate to mention. And that, did you ever see a grown man naked was one of those. So I didn't mention that one, but they're all from the movie Airplane. Surely you can't be serious. Anyway, I wanted to spend today talking, just talking, because we've been doing the show for, what was this, 92nd episode?
Yeah.
92 episodes. Our 100th episode is coming up, and we'll definitely do something special for the 100th episode. But there are a lot of things that are happening here, and I'm glad you guys made all those comments. And I want to know more about you guys. I want to know. I love knowing about your hobbies. Jeremy, thank you for sharing the pheasant photos, and it's very cool. And Elizabeth sent this picture. So she's talking about Bite Sports. So you can check that out. So interesting. Like, there is so many unique things out there. You know what? There is no lack of things to be interested in, things to do. Like, no one should be, and we talked about TV and watching shows, but there are so many other things to be doing that, to occupy your time. That's why, I mean, hobbies, and I've said this before on the show, we're in such an awesome hobby, the pond hobby. Let's just call it the pond hobby. The pond hobby covers everything from filtration to koi to pond design. There's a bunch of aspects, and each one of those things is a hobby on its own. But together, it brings us all together. And I'm going to tell you one thing is that a hobby is not a lot of fun when you're doing it by yourself. It's always more fun when you can do the hobby with others, and that's how I got into this. My father and I, my dad's hobby was, my dad was into Japanese things. So my house growing up was a Japanese style. He had Japanese carpenters build the inside of my house. I had tatami rooms. So we had tea rooms, and we had various rooms in the house that were everything in my house was a house that a kid should not grow up in, because they were all things that you were not allowed to touch or go near. And my father was not meant to be around children, so and not from that aspect. He just was not. He just didn't like kids very much. From that aspect. So my house was designed in a way that a kid shouldn't be around, and for good reason. And we had all these amazing fixtures that were made out of. We had all these lights that were designed out of rice paper. And as a kid, I thought it was cool to take my finger and punch holes in it. So he had every right to not want kids around his things. He would build things that he wanted. It was his hobby. But I grew up with Japanese as a huge part of my life. Although I don't know the language, a couple of words. It's been a staple in my life. My father, among other things, was also the largest Japanese Ningyo doll collector in the world. I have thousands. My father had thousands of Ningyo dolls. You'd have to look up Ningyo doll so you can show everyone. This is a good way to do things. We can look it up and just show it on camera. My father has literally the rarest Ningyo doll collection in the world, which is a very odd thing to have. But he, these dolls, so you can show these right there. So my father, I literally have thousands of these, and they were owned by princes and princesses in Japan. And the dolls that he has are literally hundreds of years old, and they've traveled to museums around the country. And so these museums would come to the house, and they would collect all the dolls. They would bring them to their museum, and they would set up these elaborate setups with all these dolls. And my father that was one of his hobbies. And interestingly, we're now trying to figure out what to do with all of this. I'm actually going back to Florida from the 5th to the 10th to figure all this out. We actually have a gentleman by the name of Alan Pate, who is he's the authority on Ningyo dolls in the world. And he's coming to the house, and my father actually bought most of the collection from Alan, so he's now coming back to the house to, he knows the worth of everything, and so he's going to take this collection and sell it. But we also have all this Japanese art, so I have a lot of what are called woodblock prints, Japanese woodblock, dozens. And when I say, again, my father was a collector, so I have like 50 or 60 works of art from Japan that are, some of these could be hundreds of years old. So we have an art person coming to the house to evaluate all that. And then I said my dad was into the plane and ship model business, and although he sold all that stuff and he was no longer in the business, we have all these giant, it's on my phone, all these giant sailing ship models. I mean, massive sailing ships encased in glass. We need to find someone that's interested in that. And then when I was a kid, my father was also into Lionel trains. So we have thousands of Lionel trains. That's if anyone knows a Lionel train collector that I should be speaking to, please text me, 516-547-0164. I have all these train models that are coming to me that we need to sell. When I say a lot, I mean it's a lot. There's probably 20 or 30 boxes filled with rare trains, because he was the best train collector as well. So yes.
A couple more comments.
Yes.
So Jeremy says he also used to raise bighorn sheep.
Really?
Michael Adrian says, I was away from my computer, but I knew the reference, but don't call me Shirley. Joe,
I knew you knew it, Michael.
Joe Kaufman says, for me personally, I like fish, of course, but my passion is rescuing vicious death row dogs and rehabilitating them.
So let's talk about that. So Joe is in this it's not just a hobby, it's a lifestyle, and Joe is rescuing pit bulls that are on death row. And guys, we have Mila here, and Mila is a pit bull mix, and listen, of course there are dogs that can be dangerous, and I, quite honestly, I think that any breed of dog can be dangerous. It's unfortunate that the pit bull, being the strong dog it is, and I don't have a lot of information, and Joe can really speak to this. The pit bull is a very strong dog, so this dog is used, for fighting and protection, and unfortunately has been put into a class that it shouldn't be in, because quite honestly, pit bulls can be amazing dogs, incredibly loving, very protective, and are an amazing companion. Joe, if you want to talk a little bit about these dogs, anything you would like for me to say on the show, please tell me, and I would love to talk about it. Go ahead.
Spring asks, are you still heading to Japan, and when and what breeders are you hitting?
So very, very, very good question, and it was actually on my list of things to talk about. Spring had asked about our Japan trip. So I am very excited that we're going this year. It's been a really long time since I've been to Japan. We are an agent for Ornifish. Ornifish is the largest Japanese koi exporter in Japan, and we're the East Coast agent for the United States for Ornifish. And we've been growing this relationship, and it's been an incredible partnership with them, and we're continuing to grow that relationship. And we've formed great relationships with the breeders, but we haven't been there in some time, and what we need to do is get back out there, because we've been so busy in other areas. It's time for us to go back out. And Michael, my son Travis, and I will be going to Japan for 2 weeks. We're leaving on December 2nd and coming back on the 16th. And we haven't actually planned our second week. We're in the middle of planning our first week right now. We're working with our guy in Japan, and we're laying out a plan. And part of the conversation today was for me to announce that we are going, and that if you guys have fish that you're looking for, we are definitely going to be doing this. So what I will ask everyone that's on the show is to download WhatsApp. It's an app on your phone, and we will be using WhatsApp as our tool to be showing fish in bowls while we're there live. And guys, you're going to have to be on our show live in the middle of the evening, because it's going to be they're 13 hours ahead of us. So it is going to be late, but we're going to be selling fish while we're there live using WhatsApp. So we ask you guys to download that and then contact me with your phone number. You can text me at 516-547-0164. We will be building up our WhatsApp audience, and we will be doing live sales. Just like we do here, we're going to be doing live sales in Japan, and you guys can get the experience along with us. I want you guys to be part of this, so we're excited to do it. And if you have fish that you're looking for, I want to know. If you have breeders that you're interested in going to, let me know. We are working on our list of breeders. You guys know some of the breeders I'll be going to. I don't even have to say. Obviously, Aoki is going to be one. Kaneko, Kano. I'm going to be honest. I may avoid a couple of the breeders that most people would end up going to. We may go just to see them, but we'll obviously be going to Maruhiro. Everyone goes to Maruhiro. Maruhiro has a very famous breeder. Dainichi and Issa, we've we've dealt with their fish in the past, and you know they're some of the top breeders in the world. We may go there. Well, we'll see. We'll see. So it does bring up an interesting conversation. Like, what are you guys interested in? Tell me what is on your koi bucket list. And I know you're texting me now, but I want to know. I want you to text me as well, guys. You know my number, but I'll tell you again: 516-547-0164. What is on your koi bucket list that you want for your pond that you don't have now, or you're just looking for something very special? And mind you, when you guys want something that's very special, just know that the breeders in Japan also know that it's a special fish. So it's not something that's going to be cheap, but we will be able to handpick fish there. So if there is something that you're looking for, please let me know. I know Paul Kubinski and I were talking the other day, and there was definitely some fish on his list that he was interested in that we're going to go looking for him while we're there. So let me know what you're interested in, please, and we'll talk about it.
So, Adina.
Hi, Adina.
Adina Hood sent me some pictures of her.
Wow,
great
gorgeous. I meant you, Adina. The dog is nice too. Take a look at that there. So I got to be offset a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, and then Jeremy sent me his sheep. I think that's a good one.
Wow.
The sheep that he used to have.
So there's Jeremy's sheep. So one of Jeremy's hobbies is still a hobby is sheep, or he's not?
I think he said he
used to do horned sheep. So interesting, being in the pond world, sheep have actually been something that's come up before, and we're not having sheep here, but we ran into during my travels in the pond world, we met with a pond builder that rents sheep. And now someone living on Long Island would be like, what are you talking about, rent sheep? So sheep are amazing at clearing land. So they can clear land like nothing else. So they'll eat poison. There is nothing they won't eat. So they eat poison ivy. They eat all sorts of things that would be very hard for a human to remove. So he rents sheep out for like a week, a couple of weeks, a month, and you can rent one sheep or you can rent a whole herd of sheep. And they take the sheep, they put them on your property, and they clear the property. I don't know if you can see it, but it's pretty interesting. And it just goes to show you that there is so many ways to make money and build businesses that you had no idea could actually be something. But this guy has been, I apologize I don't have his name, but has a very successful business renting sheep to clear land. So it's very cool.
Okay. Couple of things.
Yes.
Kathy Crowdy said,
Hi,
did you
Kathy.
have koi growing up too?
We did. So Kathy asked if we had koi growing up, and that's actually, I started going into it. And, my father and I did not have a lot in common. We didn't, like I said, we didn't see eye to eye on 99% of things. The 1%, the one thing that my father and I did see eye to eye on, my father got me into this, is this hobby. So my dad actually had, and I was too young at the time, he had some fiberglass ponds in the back of the house. And my dad was also a fish guy. He owned an aquarium store called Aquarius Pets in Wantagh. And I don't know how he did all these things, but he did. And so he was a fish guy, and we had fish tanks all over the house growing up, and they were all saltwater tanks, huge 300-gallon tanks all over the house. And he got me into the fish. I wasn't really as into the aquariums as I was the koi. And one day my dad said, let's build a pond. So we built a pond, and I would say we built it together. I mean, he helped place the rocks, and I did the digging, and I learned how to. My dad had an eye for things, so I learned from him I learned rock work from my dad, I guess. Haven't really thought about this, but my dad was the one that taught me, how to pick the right stone for the right spot, and we figured out how to design ponds together. And we had 3 ponds on the property, and we had 2 in the fronts and 1 in the back of the house. And we did the landscaping together. And the thing that I had the most fun with was koi. And it's funny because he was in the aquarium trade, and he had aquariums all over, but we didn't, like, filtration didn't exist for ponds then. Tetra Ponds, it was the name of the country. Tetra had a liner line, and we bought the liner from that company. And when it came to filtration, like, filtration didn't really exist. So we just recirculated the water. So keeping fish alive was pretty difficult back then. We just didn't have the ways to do it. And we're talking, I'm 52. I'm going to be 53 this coming year. And I was 15 when we were doing this together, and we would travel around the islands. My dad, the big trip for us was going to Shearer's. So Shearer's and Sons, which still exists today, it's about 25 minutes from here. I grew up in Massapequa. So when my dad and I would go to Shearer's in Northport, it was a long ride. I mean, for me, it was like going on vacation. It was like going to a different world. It was going on vacation. It would probably take us 40 or 50 minutes to get there. And as a kid, like, that was far. That was a long trip. But when we got there, it was magical. Shearer's was the place to go. They had all the aquatic plants. They had the fish, and they didn't have anything special with fish. But to me, it was still the coolest place ever. And back then, I thought their fish were amazing. And then because he was in the aquarium trade, he had a friend at Petland. Do you remember Petland Discounts? So he had a friend that was like one of the top guys at Petland. So we would go to the Petland warehouse, which was basically the go-between, where they had all the fish tanks, and all the fish from there would go into quarantine. And then when they were done with quarantine, they would go out to all the stores around, all the Petlands around Long Island. Petland was a huge pet store. I don't know if you remember that, but Petland, there was a Petland in every shopping center. They were everywhere. They had TV commercials, and their ads were all over the place, and Petland Discounts. You guys remember Petland Discounts? So we would go there, and they had koi for sale that they would sell in their stores. So my dad and I would go, and we would pick fish out. And one day we went there. Really quick story. And the guy was unloading a shipment. So he's like, I can't help you until I unload the shipment. So my dad said, oh, we'll help. And so the guy's like, all right, I have to unload all these guppies. And they go in those tanks over there. But he didn't say more than that. So my dad and I go and we help, and we take all the guppies and we put them in all these tanks. And then the guy comes back freaking out. He's yelling, what the hell did you do? He actually used different language than that. And so my dad wasn't thinking about it. He said, put them in there. So we ended up putting all the males and female guppies in the same tanks together. And we then had to spend the whole day separating all the guppies, which that took up a big part of our day. But that's how I got into the hobby, was from my dad. So, my dad, played, whether it was good or bad, he played a large role in the direction of my life. So I don't know what I would have, I've gone through a couple of different paths. I worked, because of my father getting me into that, I worked for a whole bunch of large landscape companies over the years before I got into the video game world. I did video games for 20 years, but before I did that, I was doing landscaping. I wanted to be in the pond business when I was younger. It was just launching a business when I was really young. It was difficult to do, especially with no background in business whatsoever. I learned everything about business and marketing. Actually, when I moved over to the video game space, I designed video games for 20 years, and I learned a tremendous amount from being in that business that I was able to then take back to this world. So thank you for asking that question, Spring.
Chris Hayes asks 2 questions. Will you be checking out any bonsai in Japan? And yes, I want a glow-in-the-dark koi, please.
So Chris and I have always had this dream fish of being a glow-in-the-dark koi. So it's been on our list of things forever was a glow-in-the-dark koi. But we do have a plan to go and visit some bonsai, like I said, bonsai farms, when we're in Japan. The issue is we're going in December. And if you guys have ever seen any photos or video of what Japan is like in the wintertime, they get more snow than the United States combined. When I say like the snow that they get, look up a picture of how high snow in Japan is and show it. Like you'll see a road with like the snow they get is unlike any snow that we would ever get here. Is this guy to park in a spot? Yes. Yes, that's a great picture. So, guys, take a look at how much snow they get in Japan. I had no idea until I started working with Ornifish just how much snow they get. So every year, my friend in Japan sends me all the pictures of what it's like in Japan when the snow comes down. Like, that's crazy. Take another look at that picture. Guys, this is how much snow they get in Japan. That's just unbelievable. And have you ever seen, I've never seen snow like that in the United States. So going to see bonsai, it would have to be an indoor experience. So we would have to, I know there are some bonsai museums. I don't know their outdoors if we will, I don't know what we'll be able to see in the wintertime. I have to talk to my friend Bob and Chris. Bob is from Kifu Bonsai, and we'll talk to him about where would be good places to go and visit to get the best out of bonsai while we're there at this time of the year. Go ahead.
A couple more comments. Spring says that she's been thinking about working with one of the Seeing Eye organizations and raising a puppy for a year for it to eventually be paired with somebody with a need.
I love that.
Michael Adrian says, if I had room, a premium Sasui. Joe Kaufman reiterated on the previous conversation, pit bulls were originally a line-bred mat dogs, simply because
what was that?
Originally line-bred a mat dogs simply because of their protective nature and extreme loyalty. Tag plays into their own detriment. All they want to do is please their owner. This in turn makes it easier for bad owners to use the hem for foul play. I also work with Cane Corso, Presa Canario breeds. Once you show a scared death row dog, you are not going to hurt them. They become some of the most loyal dogs.
Amazing.
Spring says, I've actually been thinking about mini or dwarf koi for our side yard pond.
But before you go into Spring, go back to Joe. Joe, if there's any information you can share, I know that it's very specific to locations, but any information you can share about any of our friends that are on here now about rescuing pit bulls.
The correction, the thing that we didn't understand, he said bred to be nanny dogs.
Bred to be nanny dogs.
So pit bulls were originally bred to be nanny dogs because they were simply protected in nature and extreme loyalty.
That's amazing. That's really interesting. Joe, can you post anything on here so that other people can see anything they can look into to get in touch with their local pit bull rescue? Because, guys, there are pit bull rescues everywhere. Gabe, can you see if you can help that gentleman with anything? Thanks, buddy. Very important. It's sad that these pit bulls have been through just very, very traumatic experiences, and rescuing one of these dogs. I mean, rescuing any dog is amazing. My boy Remy, my dog, is a golden mix. Was a rescue. Mila was a rescue. My cat Grigio was a rescue. I know that everyone wants to get like a specific dog, and quite honestly, I love Goldens. I grew up with Newfoundlands, and I've had Goldens in my life for the last 15 years, and it's so important to, if you can have a dog be a part of your life, like I think there's nothing more amazing, because they just want to be your friends. I'm very passionate about that as well. Although I'm not involved with any rescues, I do think being a part of a rescue or rescuing a dog or a cat or a pet is an amazing thing, versus buying from a breeder who's just only thinking about the dollars and cents of it. I think if you can rescue, I think that would be amazing. Thank you, Joe. Questions? Comments?
Yeah.
Must be Chris.
Yeah. I'll reiterate Spring's comment. Spring was saying that she's been thinking about mini or dwarf koi for the side yard pond. I know this is not what most do, but I enjoy the little ones.
So Spring brings something up that's actually come up in the last year, what are called dwarf koi. And I don't have any dwarf koi. It's not something that... the dwarf koi are not... I don't know if they're bred in Japan, but I know they're bred in China and some other of Asian territories. Yes, that's Chris being funny. Chris thought it would be funny to see. He could send a picture of my toe. You don't want to show that. So, if you guys know Chris. Chris is an incredibly funny person, and he says and does some very funny things. I lost my toe a few years ago from a dirty pond. If you guys didn't know, I had a blister on my foot, and I was in a dirty pond. This is a long time ago now. This is going on 15 years ago. I had a blister on my foot that opened, and I got bacteria from a dirty pond in it, and it infected my toe, and we tried for the longest time to not have to amputate my toe, but eventually we did. My toe's name was Jimmy. And Chris, and I will show this, Chris had a book made about Jimmy, and it was a tribute to Jimmy, and I will actually show you this book next week. It's very funny. But he spent a lot of time working on this book as a tribute to Jimmy. So, yes. So we were talking about dwarf koi. Really interesting. It is a deformity of the koi. So it's a deformity of, I think they're pretty much doing it with butterfly koi, not the regular koi. So it's a short-bodied koi that has fairly long fins. Very interesting. Mainly done in other areas of the world, not in Japan. If there are in Japan, maybe we'll look into it. Guys, biosecurity is a huge thing for me. Having healthy fish that are KHV free, so koi herpes virus free, is a big deal to me. Working with ornithish, they're part of what's called the Rinkokai, and every single breeder that's part of this has a very, very high standard. I think there's about 60 breeders that are part of this, and they have a very high standard and protocol that they have to follow for koi health. And that part of being in this business is really important to me. There's a reason why, I get calls every single day from people that are looking to get rid of fish. We don't take fish in because we're biosecure. We only bring fish in from ornithish. We don't bring in fish from koi when we're talking. We only bring in koi from ornithish that are part of the Rinkokai and that follow a specific set of standards. And then beyond what they do, as far as their protocols for safe fish health, we do the same. So when fish come here, we go through our protocols. We do KHV testing through Kennebec Labs. And these other breeders, and I know you guys want to do some of these other fish, if I know that these breeders are going through those processes, what are you looking for? If I know that the breeder is going through these same processes, then it's something that we could certainly talk about. But I'm part of the Ornafish family, and we believe in the Erinkokai family because of the fish health. So when you're looking at, guys, listen, you don't have to buy fish from us, but if you're buying fish from someone, you need to know where the fish came from. I think it's really important because there are diseases that can easily kill all your fish, one of them being KHV. So I think it's really important to know that whoever you're dealing with is doing proper protocols. And guys, when we bring our next fish shipment in, we're going to go over the protocols that we go through, because I think it's important for you to know this. I think it's important for you guys to quarantine fish. Even if you get fish from us, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be quarantining. Really interestingly, a lot of times, someone will have a pond that hasn't had new fish in it a long time, and your fish have learned to live in their environment, and may actually carry things that a fish that's from here who is super clean won't be used to. And then even though the fish that you have are okay, once you put another fish in, it's the new fish that you put in could actually get something from the old fish. I mean, it's very interesting, and there are all sorts of things you have to think about. So quarantining your fish when you get them in is also important. These are all things that we should be talking about. These should not be taboo things to discuss. I always want to be open about discussions about this stuff. So we were talking about the dwarf koi. It is likely something we will never have because we only bring koi in from our breeders. So if one of our breeders in Japan did have these fish, then yes. Otherwise, I don't need to go and make a couple of dollars off a fish that, although it may be a cool fish, it's not worth it to me. I hope I was pretty clear about that. That's just who we are. There are other people that do it. There are other people that are selling these fish, and like I said, if the breeders that we deal with in Japan have something unique, then fine. I'm happy to bring it in, just knowing that they're part of the Erinkokai and that they're doing specific protocols that the Erinkokai sets out for the health and safety of the fish. But if they're not doing that, there's a lot of times, what was happening in the past, especially in Japan, is you had all these breeders that have been, breeding a specific type of fish for a really long time, but trends change. So you have a breeder that's, very specific on Gosanke, for instance, which Showa, Kohaku, and Sanke. And maybe there's, the trend right now is not Gosanke, and the trend is whatever else it may be. The trend is going for Shirutsuri, or it's going for Deutz, or whatever it is. And they decide they want to bring something else in. And what happened was exactly that. Trends were changing, and people were looking for other types of koi. And the breeders in Japan realized that they needed to get involved in other things, so they started getting parent stock from other breeders, and they ended up killing. Is that the whole book?
No, it's just a picture of it.
I'll show that in a second. They ended up buying parent stock from other breeders and ended up killing their entire businesses because they brought in some parent stock that had KHV and ended up giving it to all the other fish on their farms. So protocols had to be put in place that stopped this from happening. And they did a great job of stopping it, because it was an absolutely devastating disease. So that's one of the main reasons that we stick with ornithish and we stick with with the Eureka cod, because we know exactly where these fish are coming from. And it's not saying that it couldn't happen, but they're taking every precaution, every step possible to make sure that what happened in the past doesn't happen again. If you have any other questions about this, please ask. I hope this is an interesting conversation for you guys, because I think it's an interesting conversation to have.
A couple more comments. So back to the renting a goat or
Yes.
sheep thing. Jeremy says it's really big in Texas, and Kathy Crotty also says people also rent out goats there in West Virginia.
I said sheep, goats. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Shows you how much I know about that. It's goats, not sheep. Maybe sheep too, but it's goats that eat everything. Thank you for correcting me.
Spring is asking, is it easier to sex guppies versus koi? Yeah.
Yes. So
Much easier.
So guppies are one of those fish that the males and females look completely different. Same thing as betas. You can tell male and female betas from each other very easily. Koi is one of those fish that it's a little more difficult. Even the breeders get it wrong. There is a famous story about I think that it was the cheapest grand champion fish ever bought, which was a breeder had thought that a fish was a male, and it turned out to be a female that ended up being a grand champion. So they didn't pay as much money because it was a male for this fish, but it ended up being a female, and the breeder was probably very embarrassed about it. But everyone, it's hard sexing fish. We get it wrong as well, which is why we never. I got to be honest, we don't guarantee gender. You don't have testicles hanging off the bottom of the fish. It's just, it is what it is. So yes.
Jody Hanger says,
"Hey Joey,
me and my dad used to go to Sid Lamborn's fish hatchery. He had huge koi in his lily pond, bright pattern koi that now I think were Sankei. They were in huge ponds. This was 45 plus years ago, and there has not been a place like that anywhere here since."
Where is it? Where are you? Where are you located? But the story you just told is just like the story with my dad, and
Utah.
He was in Utah, so he was talking about a place that he went to 45 years ago that has never had a place like that since. We're trying to do that here. We're trying to make something here. I want that memorable experience. I want you guys to come here and see something that you've never seen anywhere else before. I want to have that feeling that I had with my dad of going to shearers. And quite honestly, you go to shearers now, and I'm not looking to down a place, but you go to shearers now, and it's not the place that it used to be. I don't know what happened, but it's just not the place that it was when I was a kid. I'm just being honest. I'm not going to say any more than that, but I had a memory that I will never forget for the rest of my life, which was going to a place with my dad that was the one thing that we actually enjoyed doing together was koi, and picking out koi was just this very special thing. And look, I'm now 52 years old, and I'm still doing it. I mean, this has been one of those hobbies that it's one of those things. And guys, we all have hobbies. There are things that you do for a little while and you give up. This is one of those hobbies that has been a part of my life, my entire, for as long as I can remember. It's been a part of my life. How are you? I'm Sean. Nice to meet you. This is Michael.
Taking that trip. Yeah. Nice, beautiful. They're beautiful, man.
Thank you. Did you go into the big koi house?
Yeah. I get nervous at the water. You start thinking like crazy movies and shit. So I'm jumping out, but I warmed up.
Cool.
But I like it. It's beautiful, man.
Thank you.
I do service. Like a lot of customers have like koi farms and shit, so like roads on.
Well, please let them know where we are.
Yeah, no, definitely.
we have a lot more coming. So we're building out this whole side next. Yeah.
I called like maybe a week or two ago.
Well, thank you for coming.
Definitely appreciate it. Once the house comes, you guys are definitely in the
Sounds good.
a lot of motivation.
Uh,
Y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
All right.
So going back to this, so we've spent a lot of time talking about hobbies today because, let's not forget that this is our hobby. This is our passion. The minute that it ceases to be a passion, it loses something. So I'm super, super excited to be going to Japan with Michael and Travis. I can't wait to go. We're going to have an amazing time, and I want you guys to be a part of it too. So we're definitely going to figure out the best way to make you guys a part of it. Any other questions?
Christine said last week
Hi,
Michael
Christine.
showed some fish. He would say this fish is from X and this one's from Y.
Yeah.
It seemed like they came from the same tank. How do you know what fish came from a specific breeder?
So it's a great question. I happen to know because I know what breeds of fish we got from certain breeders. So what we do when fish come in, so we put them in separate tanks. So when fish come in from Japan, they go into our quarantine greenhouse and they get separated. The fish are separated by breeder then. So I know what fish are coming in because I pick the fish before they come in. So I know which fish are coming from which breeder. Once they go through quarantine, they go through a minimum of a 30-day quarantine. They then come into the sales greenhouses where we can mix the fish together. But we don't put the fish in together until they go through their quarantine. But just because the fish are mixed together doesn't mean that we don't know where certain fish come from. I know that I got X fish from X breeder. I know that X breeder does X type of fish. So 99.9% of the time I know where that fish came from. But a very good question. Yes. Any other questions?
Alan says
Hi, Alan.
there is a saying you can't step into the same river twice. I don't know what that was in reference to.
So Alan was is saying you can't step into the same river twice. I mean that you can read that a lot of different ways, but I think it's basically saying that you can have a different experience like every time you go. Tell me if I'm wrong in reading it that way. There's always a new experience to be had. Does that sound correct? Thank you for that, Alan. But I agree with that if that's the way I'm reading it, yes. We went over a couple of things today. We talked about our Japan trip, and we want you guys to be a part of the Japan trip. And we just talked about things that are going on. We are moving into so phase one at Koi Market was building out the koi houses. So we have the big koi house, we have the small koi house, we have the bonsai area with the bonsai house, we have the quarantine area, and then we have Koi Pharma, which Michael and I have a business together called Koi Pharma, and you guys have gotten to experience some of the new Koi Pharma products that we're putting out. Koi Pharma is, we have our bacterial control medicated food and our nitro, and we have some new products coming out. What? Huh? I didn't say that. Oh, did I? So we have our bacterial control koi food and our nitro food, our nitro product, and we do have some other products coming out from Koi Pharma. So please keep an eye on that. We will let you guys know. I'm very excited about that. And we also have our Koi Care Kennel line, which is Koizyme Proform C and some other products on that line. We have our wholesale business, which Mike Verone and I have been growing. I'm pretty excited about that. We are doing. We have the Aquascape line of products. So we have a wholesale distribution line. We are now doing. So I'm excited about this. We have Aquascape. We have an amazing line of products from Aquascape. And we're now going to be distributing for Siche. So the green reset filters. So I'm very excited about that. So we can get guys more involved in the green reset line. So our contractors and builders can now have access to those. We have Blue Thumb. So we'll be doing Blue Thumb fountains. They have an amazing fountain line. We have Aquamaster fountains and aeration. So we're doing that. And we have another one that I'm going to be announcing very soon. I don't think I have a lot of contractors on here, but so we're really growing the wholesale part of the business, and it's become a big part of what we're doing moving forwards. Any questions about the wholesale line, please reach out to me. We're not going to be doing fish today. I don't know if you guys are planning on doing fish today. We're not going to be doing fish today. The reason why is we're just ending out at the end of this month. We're ending our 50% off sale, and we're going back to we're going to start moving some things around at the store and getting prepared for the winter months. In the winter months, we actually do we get pretty involved with the fish, and the reason why it becomes a big part of what we do here is because we board fish. So we have our boarding program where we will hold the fish for you. And we know that, right now we're selling fish at wholesale. It doesn't make sense. We're not going to board fish that we're selling wholesale. Those are fish that we're selling. If you want the fish, we would take it right now. And most people's ponds are closed at this point. And it's not that we don't have a lot of fish to sell, but for us to sell fish that we're also going to be boarding that we're selling wholesale doesn't make sense for us. So the wholesale is very specific to taking fish now. If you are looking for fish, what I would say is you should do our virtual our virtual koi shopper, which is an amazing tool for you guys, which I would love for you guys to use, which is a way for us to, exactly like we do in the show, is a way for you guys to do a one-on-one with us, where you can pick out all your fish. So if you go on our website and you choose, it's actually called Personal Koi Shopper. Choose the Personal Koi Shopper. You can pick a day and a time, and we will meet you there through FaceTime, and we can pick fish out together. So please go to coinmarket.com. We are going to be crazy enough. We just did the website. I wish I could remember the name of the web company that we used last time, because I would tell you not to use them because they suck.
Fuel?
Was it Fuel? Fuel was the name of the company. We're now going to be redoing the website because functionality-wise, it's an absolute piece of crap. The site works and it looks nice, but there are enough issues with it that we're going to be redoing the website. And we need to incorporate the wholesale part of the business. We have an exciting direction we're going to go for koi health. Our primary business online, we sell a lot of fish medications and water treatments, so we're going to spend a lot of time focusing on that for the website. So that's a big area that we're going to be getting involved in. I'm not going to say too much more about that right now, but it's going to be happening. The Personal Koi Shopper is also a big part of our business, so please keep an eye on that. We're going to spend some time working on that. And we have some pretty exciting things that are happening from a construction point of view that we're going to be showing you very soon. So right now I have a landscape architect and I are working together to design out the area in front and on the sides around the house. And we have some pretty exciting things. We're going to be doing some amazing stuff with Blue Thumb. So some of the fountains that we have coming in, some amazing stuff with the aquascape fountains that we're going to be building into this whole area. So we're very excited about that. We have at least 2 ponds going into the front area. We have an amazing outdoor living room that we're going to be building as well, and some unbelievable fountains that are going to be going in. So I'm very excited to take you through this journey with us. As we build out Coin Market, and this is going to be my goal is to be the ultimate destination for outdoor living. Is our goal. I guess would that be the way to put it? Sure. the ultimate place to come to see amazing things for your backyard, for your ponds, and for your outdoor living space. So I'm very excited.
So Alan put his explanation to the saying that he
Yes.
wrote about. He said it's about the fish store you want to be as a boy. I guess.
I like that. Thank you. I didn't know that did that. I thought it was just static in one position.
And Spring asked, "Are there any updates on the missing 6-foot koi?"
So Spring asked, is there any news on the stolen koi, which were actually 7.5 feet. They weren't 6 feet, they were 7.5 feet, because we measured, because we still have one left. And yes, it's 7.5 feet. We have no news whatsoever. Hi, how are you, sir?
Good, good. I'm going to grab those 2 bags.
Okay. Gabe will check you out.
Thanks.
So if you guys didn't hear about it, we had on the news, we had our 2 7.5-foot koi statues were stolen from the front of the property. I'm just telling the people on the camera. We're doing a live show, but you can certainly listen in. So we had our giant koi statues were stolen from the fountain out on the front corner. And the amazing thing is that, we covered it on Channel 12 News, which is a local news channel on Long Island. And we got some coverage, and then it kind of came and went. And then out of nowhere, like a week later, Channel 7 News picked it up. And the Channel 7 News van, it's funny, they have a commercial for Channel 7 News, and it's like, there's that Channel 7 News van again, and that's because Channel 7 News is all over the place. And Channel 7 News came here, and they walked the whole property, and they filmed a whole bunch of stuff, and we got to really talk about koi market, and they covered the theft. And when they covered the theft on Channel 7, it was picked up by every other news channel, not just locally, but around the nation. And this small-time story ended up covering the entire country, which was shocking for just a couple of statues. But it certainly brought some attention to koi market, but unfortunately it didn't bring the attention to the people that stole it to bring them back. And they even put a reward out for it, and nothing. I don't know. Did you ever find out how much the reward was for? No. But they put a reward out, and we didn't hear anything. So it's unfortunate. We are talking to a company right now overseas about building some new statues. Crazy enough, so we're trying to get the police report, because we need to give the police report for insurance purposes. And the insurance, the police report, they said that they sent us a letter saying that due to backlog, we wouldn't get the police report for 60 to 90 days, which I've never heard of. Our insurance company is like, I don't really understand it. We've never heard that before either. But that's currently what's going on, is we're waiting for the police report so we can submit it into insurance so that we can potentially get some new statues out there. We have to figure out a better way to secure them, though, because I really thought that the way I did it, Chris is an engineer, Chris Hayes, and he came up with a way. I'm gonna say I didn't come up with a way. Chris came up with a way to secure them. So Chris fabricated this out of aluminum, this awesome stand, and the stand then attached to the fish in a way that you couldn't easily unattach it, and then the stand had a diamond plate at the bottom, and the idea was that we would cover that with cement, which is what we did, and we covered it with cement, and we had this whole thing had to weigh a couple 100 pounds between the fish, the stand, and the cement. It had to weigh at least 300 pounds plus. And they took the entire thing. They didn't just take the fish and leave the stands. They took the stand too with the cement. They took the whole thing. So, yeah, it was unfortunate, and we really thought that maybe we would hear something like some news. Yeah, I would think if they used something that was open when they took them, then someone would have seen some giant koi statues driving away at some points, but that wasn't the case. So, it's lessons learned in life. It's sad that for everything that happens with us, changes don't happen unless something big happens to cause you to make a change. In this case, we learned that we have to do a much better job of securing something if we don't want it to get stolen. I really didn't think that someone would steal some giant koi statues. That being said, we did know that we needed to secure it in some way, but it didn't. We now know that we have to do more, so we will. Although we have a security system here now, we are getting a very large system in place, and we have to take it to the next level because we learned that we have to. We don't have a choice. So, any other questions, comments?
Christine is asking, do you worry about koi theft considering you have bigger koi? I'm assuming she means like legitimate fish.
We worry about everything. It's a really good question. And, so Christine's comment was, do we worry about koi theft? Absolutely. So I bought this property. The entire property is fenced in with barbed wire around the entire property. We also have a house on the property, and I do have my son living here on the property, lives in the house. So we do have someone that's here, and we have Mila, our dog, here, and we do have security cameras here, but we are going to be upping our security all over to enhance what we already have, because I hate to say it, but I am a very trusting person. And I give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and I guess I need to not do that. So, yeah. Any other questions, comments? So, a couple more things. So we will be going to Japan, and we will be bringing some fish, and we will let you guys know more about that. We will be, and I think that we were going to do the raffle fish every single month. I think the fun thing about doing the raffles during the winter time is that we just have more time to do it and concentrate on it versus in season. And we've learned that, Michael spent his entire season. We sold so many fish through the show over the winter that he spent most of his season packing and shipping fish afterwards. So there are things that took up our time that we didn't think were going to take up as much time as they did. So just things change. We are going to be doing the raffles again, and I promise you, we love doing the raffles, and it's a fun part of doing the shows. And I think we're just going to save it for the winter time, the winter and spring part of the season, because that's when we have a little bit more time to do it versus in season when things are a bit crazy. Any other things I should mention, Michael? You got a comment?
Jody.
Hi, Jody.
Is asking, how about getting you a property protection dog? I know someone not too far that can help.
A property protection dog? I don't know if I would never have. I would feel bad having the dog living outside.
Necessarily have to live outside.
Yeah, I don't know how that. We've talked about it, but I don't know if I could do that. I like the. When I think of a dog, I think of a dog as being a part of my life, and as being. I don't know if I could have a dog for protection. I wouldn't want anything to happen to the dog. Like that. I'd be more worried about that than anything else. Is the dog okay? And that would keep me up at night, actually. But it is something that I guess we have to think about. thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, there's something that. You know.
She says you can DM her if you wanted.
Okay, just.
She says only outside when closed.
Yeah, but that's at nighttime and like I. Yeah, it's something. We'll talk about it. That's something I would actually have to talk to my wife about, and my son who lives on the property, who also has a dog, Mila, and Tom, who has Daisy here. So that's it's something to think about. Okay.
Kevin Strumpf is asking, can we maybe do a show where you would teach us about water testing?
Absolutely. So a big part of our show throughout the season has been what I like to call edutainments, which is just an entertaining way to be teaching everyone about the things that help us with this hobby. So you had asked if we could do water testing, and we can absolutely do water testing and treating fish and filtration and aeration. These are all things that we've talked about before, and I would like to, in the coming year, spend more time not working off the cuff when we do our shows. And in the past, we've done our shows where we kind of come up with ideas on the fly. In the future, I'd like to actually produce the shows to an extent so that we actually plan our shows beforehand. As our shows get bigger and we bring on more viewers and we cross more platforms, that we also we produce them in a way that we plan ahead for what we're going to do, and we go into more detail about the different things that make up this hobby. There's so many aspects of this hobby that are unknowns, that are things that everyone's dabbled in, but they want to know more about, that can only help you in the hobby. I think it's important, especially things like medications, water treatments, and testing the water. These are things that we need to do all the time. These are things that get done, especially in the beginning of the season, on a weekly basis. So these are things that we want to talk about. We can talk about the products that we use. There are products that we don't use. There are products we do use. So I'm happy to talk about all that stuff. And yeah, so we will talk more about that. And as I call it, edutainment, we will continue to do that as part of our show. We didn't do it in today's show. Today, you know what? I haven't been on the show in a little while because it just had some personal things going on, and I wanted to just come back to the show and just talk to you guys. And I know it wasn't the normal show where we're going through and looking at products and we're talking about fish and showing fish. It just wasn't the day for it. I do have something to show. You want to show? Did you see the new sign? I don't know if you guys saw the new sign. You want to show the new sign? We'll show the new sign, and we're gonna call it a day for today. I thank everyone for who's on the show. How many people? So 27 on the show. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Let's take a quick walk outside. We've been doing all of our new koi market signs. We have the sign that we put on the corner. We have the sign we put on the corner all the way up front, and that's literally in front of 80,000 cars that pass by every day, maybe more. I think it's 40,000 each way, plus the cars that pass by on the service road. It's another 10 on the service road. And then we did a sign by the gate over here, and then we just did this new sign here. Came out pretty cool. Thank you to Agricolor. So Anthony Greco is a good friend of ours, and he did all our signs for us. He's also done show my truck there. He's done the wraps on the trucks. All of our trucks have wraps on them. So thank you again, Anthony Greco. from Agricolor. They've done an amazing job, and the signs came out awesome. We have more signs going into place, and I can't wait to show you what's. So just show this over here really quick, Michael. This entire area, everything you see from the backyard entering over there, all this, everything is going to be transformed. And when I say transformed, it's going to be amazing. I can't wait for you guys to be a part of it. And thank you for joining the show today. I know it wasn't the normal show, but guys, just remember, like, life is short, and to enjoy every second of it. And I don't mean to be preaching things here, but just my father passing last week just really put things into perspective. And me having my AFib surgery, also put things into perspective. And it's so important to enjoy every aspect of your life, and remember the most important thing, which is family. And I love you guys, and thank you for joining the show today, and enjoy the rest of the weekends. And we will continue to do the show every week. So we will see you next week, and you guys can always reach out to me. I still have plenty of fish available. If you guys are looking for fish, you want to do the personal koi shopper, please go on the website, koimarket.com, sign up for the personal shopper, and we can do a one-on-one. We can do a one-on-one on the personal koi shopper to talk about anything. You want to talk about filtration, you want to talk about aeration, winterization, whatever you want to talk about, we can do a one-on-one just like this, using the personal koi shopper. So go and sign up for that, set up an appointment, let us know what you're looking for, and we're happy to do it. Guys, you do not have to buy something to do the personal koi shopper. It's, in that case, will just be a personal visit. So we're happy to do it. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon.